The courtroom went silent. Not the polite kind. Not the respectful kind. The kind where even breathing feels too loud. My 7-year-old daughter stood up from the wooden bench. Small hands shaking. Eyes fixed on the judge. "Your Honor," she whispered, "may I show you something my mom doesn't know about?" Every head turned. My husband stiffened beside his lawyer. My mother-in-law's smile vanished. And the woman they'd introduced as a child expert suddenly looked down at her papers. Judge Angela Monroe leaned forward slowly. "What is it you want to show the court, sweetheart?" she asked. Mia swallowed, then lifted a tiny flash drive in her hand. "A video," she said. "One I took at night." Ouch! My heart slammed so hard, I thought I might collapse right there on the floor. "A video? At night?" The judge nodded once. "Go ahead," she said calmly. The screen lit up, and before a single image appeared, before the truth could surface, before my world could shatter, everything rewound. My name is Julie Carter. I'm 46 years old, and I never imagined my child would be the one to save me. But before I tell you how we ended up in that courtroom, before I tell you what my daughter recorded, tell me in the comments, where are you listening from today? I love knowing how far our stories travel. All right, let's start from the beginning. Because none of this started in court. It started at home. In the quiet moments. In the hours when you think your family is asleep. And you believe your child is safe. Tyler and I had been married for 11 years. From the outside, people said we were solid. Stable jobs. A nice house. A polite family. But behind closed doors, my husband had changed. He wasn't loud. He wasn't violent. He was cold, dismissive, controlling, always watching. And his mother, Linda? She never missed a chance to remind me that I was lucky Tyler tolerated me. Then came the woman who would quietly destroy everything. Her name was Brianna Holt. Tyler introduced her as a child therapist. Someone to help Mia with adjustment issues. I didn't even know what adjustment issues he was talking about. But from the moment Brianna walked into our living room, something felt wrong. Mia wouldn't sit near her. She wouldn't look at her. And one night, as I tucked my daughter into bed, she grabbed my wrist tightly and whispered, "Mom, someone comes into my room at night." I smiled softly, brushed her hair back, and told her it was just a bad dream. That was my mistake, because it wasn't a dream. And the next thing my daughter would do would freeze an entire courtroom in silence. I brushed off what Mia said that night. I hate admitting that, but I did. Because when you're a mother, your brain looks for the safest explanation first. Bad dreams, overactive imagination, too many cartoons before bed. That's what I told myself. But Mia didn't sleep. She lay stiff beside me, eyes wide open, listening. Every tiny sound made her flinch. The house was quiet, too quiet. Tyler came in late that night. Didn't kiss me. Didn't ask about Mia. He went straight to the kitchen, opened the fridge, closed it, then stood there, just standing. "Why is she in your bed?" he asked finally. I turned toward him. "She was scared." He sighed. Long. Irritated. "You're coddling her again." That word again. Again. "She said someone comes into her room at night," I said carefully. Tyler laughed. Not amused. Not warm. "Julie, come on. Don't start this." My stomach tightened. Start what? Creating problems that don't exist. He walked past us, glancing at Mia, his eyes lingering half a second too long. Something about that look made my skin crawl. The next morning, I found Mia sitting at the kitchen table, not touching her cereal. "Mom," she whispered. "He came again." My heart dropped. "Who came, sweetheart?" She lowered her voice even more. "The man who smells like Dad's cologne." Ouch! That hit harder than I expected. I smiled anyway, because that's what mothers do when they're terrified. "That's not possible," I said softly. "Daddy sleeps in our room." Mia shook her head. He comes after you fall asleep. That afternoon, Tyler's mother, Linda, stopped by unannounced. She walked in like she owned the place, kissed Tyler's cheek, barely looked at me. I heard Mia's been having trouble sleeping, she said casually. I froze. I didn't mention that to you. Linda smiled thinly. Well, Tyler worries. Of course he does. That's when Brianna arrived. Perfect posture. Soft voice. Clipboard hugged to her chest. Hi, Julie, she said sweetly. I'm here to help. Mia shrank back, behind my legs. Brianna crouched down. Hi, Mia. I just want to talk. Mia didn't respond. Linda leaned toward Tyler and whispered loudly enough for me to hear. She's clearly anxious. This isn't healthy. Tyler nodded. I think we need to document this. Document. That word echoed in my head all evening. That night, I stayed awake longer than usual. The house settled. Floors creaked softly. The refrigerator hummed. I pretended to sleep. Then, just after 2 a.m., I heard it. A slow step in the hallway. Not rushing. Careful. The bedroom door didn't open. But the light under Mia's door changed. And that's when I realized. Someone was awake in my house. And it wasn't me. I lay there, perfectly still, afraid that even my breathing would give me away. The light under Mia's door stayed on, steady, unnatural. Tyler's arm was heavy across my waist, his breathing slow, too slow. Pretending. That thought slid into my mind like ice. I gently lifted his arm, inch by inch, and slipped out of bed. The hallway felt longer than usual, darker, narrower. Each step made my heart pound louder. Mia's door was cracked open, just a little. Enough to see light, enough to hear whispering. My stomach twisted. I leaned closer. A man's voice, low, controlled, too familiar. Lay still, he whispered. This sleeps better if you don't move. Ouch. My knees almost gave out. I pushed the door open. The room went silent. Tyler stood beside Mia's bed, his back to me, a small flashlight in his hand. Mia's eyes were wide, filled with terror. What are you doing? I whispered. Tyler turned slowly. Oh, he said calmly. You scared me. Scared him? I heard a noise, he continued. She had a bad dream. I looked at Mia. She shook her head. Tiny, barely noticeable. My blood ran cold. Why is the light on? I asked. Tyler clicked the flashlight off. She asked me to check her arm. She said it hurt. I stepped closer. Mia's sleeve was rolled up. A red mark bloomed across her skin. Fresh, my vision blurred. You hurt her, I said. Tyler's face hardened instantly. Watch your tone. Linda's words echoed in my head. You're emotional. You overreact. I'm her mother, I whispered. And I'm her father, he snapped. And I'm trying to help her. He brushed past me, not touching me, but close enough that I could smell his cologne. The same scent Mia mentioned. When he reached the door, he paused. Julie, he said quietly, don't turn this into something ugly. The door closed behind him. I knelt beside Mia's bed. Sweetheart, I whispered. Tell me what happened. She grabbed my hand. He said it was for court, she whispered. He said if I didn't move, you'd lose me. Ouch! My heart shattered. For court? She nodded. He said the judge needs to see I'm not safe. I wrapped her in my arms, holding her tighter than I ever had. That night, I didn't sleep. I watched the hallway. I listened. I waited. The next morning, Tyler acted normal. Coffee, news on TV. Kissed Mia's head like nothing happened. Linda called before noon. I think it's time we involve professionals, she said, for Mia's safety. That afternoon, Brianna sent an email. Urgent evaluation required. And that's when I realized something terrifying. They weren't reacting to a problem. They were building one. The evaluation happened 2 days later. 2 days where I barely slept. 2 days where Mia refused to be alone. 2 days where Tyler watched me like I was the problem. Brianna arrived with a leather folder and a practiced smile. I just want to observe, she said lightly. No pressure. Pressure was all I felt. Mia sat on the couch, knees pulled to her chest, eyes glued to the floor. Brianna knelt in front of her. Do you feel safe at home, Mia? She asked gently. Mia hesitated. I could see the war inside her. Fear of telling the truth. Fear of what would happen if she did. Tyler leaned against the doorway. You can be honest, he said softly. This is a safe space. Ouch. The lie in his voice made my skin prickle. Mia whispered, sometimes. Brianna scribbled something down. And when don't you feel safe? Mia glanced at me, then quickly away. At night, she said. Brianna nodded slowly. And who's usually with you at night? Mia's lips trembled. Tyler cleared his throat. I check on her sometimes, he said. She has anxiety. Brianna looked up at me. And how do you respond when Mia wakes up scared, Julie? I opened my mouth, then closed it. Because suddenly, everything I said felt like it could be twisted. I comfort her, I said carefully. Brianna smiled. And do you ever raise your voice? No. Do you ever get frustrated? I'm human. She wrote again. That night, Mia showed me her arm. Another mark. This one darker. I didn't move, she whispered. I promise. I photographed it. Every angle. Every shadow. My hands shaking. The next morning, Tyler was gone when we woke up. But Linda was there, sitting at my kitchen table, drinking coffee like it was her house. You look exhausted, she said sweetly. That's not good for a child. I stared at her. You knew, I said quietly. She raised an eyebrow. Knew what? What Tyler was doing. She set her mug down slowly. Julie, she sighed. Sometimes a mother has to make hard choices. For who? I asked. For the child, she said. And for the family. My phone buzzed. A notification from Brianna. Preliminary report submitted. My chest tightened. What did you write? I asked Linda. She stood up, smoothed her sweater. I think you should prepare yourself, she said. Things are about to move very fast. That evening, Tyler came home with papers. He placed them on the counter. Divorce filing. Emergency custody request. For Mia's protection, he said coldly. Mia stood in the hallway, watching silently, absorbing everything. I knelt in front of her. It's okay, I whispered. Mommy's here. She hugged me tight, and then she whispered something that changed everything. Mom, I made a video. My heart stopped when Mia said that. You what? I whispered. She glanced toward the hallway, then toward the front door, like she was checking if anyone could hear us. I made a video, she repeated softly. Ouch! 1,000 thoughts crashed into my head at once. When? I asked. At night, she said. Under my bed. I felt dizzy. Mia? Sweetheart. Why didn't you tell me sooner? She shrugged slightly. Daddy said not to, she whispered. He said it was our secret. That word again. Secret. I pulled her close. You never have to keep secrets from me, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. Never. She nodded, but her body stayed tense, like she was bracing for something. That night, I didn't let her sleep alone. Tyler noticed. You're making this worse, he snapped. She needs structure. She needs safety, I replied. He laughed under his breath. You're the one making her afraid. Linda arrived the next morning.
Of course she did.
She hugged Mia tightly, too tightly, then looked at me with that same calm judgment. Julie, she said. Brianna's report is very concerning. I swallowed. What does it say? That Mia experiences emotional instability under your care, she replied. That her nighttime distress may be linked to your behavior. My ears rang. That's a lie. Linda sighed. You don't get to decide that. Later that afternoon, Brianna called. I'll be testifying, she said. The judge needs clarity. I hung up shaking. That evening, after Tyler left for work, I sat on Mia's bed. Can you show me the video? I asked gently. She hesitated, then shook her head. I can't, she whispered. Why not? Because Daddy checks my tablet, she said. And Grandma said, if anyone sees it, you'll go away. Ouch! My chest burned. Mia, I said softly, listen to me very carefully. I took her hands. Nothing you do will make me leave you. Ever. Tears filled her eyes. I was scared, she whispered. I know, I said. And you were very brave. That night, I pretended to sleep again. The house fell quiet. Then, just after 2, a shadow crossed the hallway. Slow, careful, intentional. The bedroom door didn't open, but Mia's door did. I slipped out of bed silently, heart pounding, and crept toward the hall. I saw him. Tyler, entering her room. I lifted my phone, hands shaking, and pressed record. And in that moment, I realized the truth. Mia wasn't the only one making a video, and the evidence piling up was going to destroy everything Tyler thought he controlled. My finger hovered over the screen, not moving, not breathing. Tyler stepped fully into Mia's room, closing the door halfway behind him. The hallway light vanished. That darkness felt intentional. I stayed frozen near the wall. Phone lifted, recording silently. Inside the room, his voice dropped low. You did good, he whispered, just like Grandma said. My stomach turned. Mia didn't respond. I took a small step closer, just enough to see through the crack. Tyler stood beside her bed, blocking the light, casting a shadow across her face. Hold still, he murmured. This won't hurt. Ouch! I clenched my jaw so hard it ached. He lifted his phone. Flash on. Click. Another click. He adjusted her sleeve. You see this mark? He said quietly. The judge needs to see it clearly. My vision blurred with rage. Mia's voice trembled. I don't like this. I know, he replied softly. But Mommy makes things confusing. We're helping her. Helping her? I felt something inside me snap. He stepped back, checked his screen, nodded to himself. Perfect, he said. Tomorrow Grandma will take you to Brianna. Just tell her what we practiced. He leaned down. And, remember, if Mommy asks questions, you don't say anything. He kissed her forehead. I almost screamed. Tyler opened the door. I pressed myself flat against the wall, a heart slamming, every nerve screaming. He passed me, so close I could smell his cologne. The same scent Mia described. When he reached the bedroom, he stopped. For a split second, I thought he knew, but he just sighed and crawled into bed. I didn't sleep, not even for a second. The next morning, I acted normal, packed lunches, braided Mia's hair, kissed her cheek. Tyler watched me carefully. You okay? He asked. Just tired, I said. He nodded. Try not to make today harder than it needs to be. After they left, I locked the bathroom door, sat on the floor, and cried silently. Then I wiped my face, opened my phone, and watched the recording. Every word, every whisper, every lie. I backed it up twice. Cloud. Email. Hidden folder. Then I found something worse. A message notification popped up on Tyler's tablet. Still synced. From Linda. Make sure the next mark looks worse. Judge Monroe needs to see real concern. Ouch. My hands shook violently. Another message followed. From Brianna. Once custody shifts, the rest will be easy. That's when I understood. This wasn't just about divorce. This was a coordinated attack. And my 7-year-old daughter was the weapon. I looked at the calendar. Court date. 3 days away. I knelt in front of Mia that night. Sweetheart, I whispered. Are you still recording? She nodded. I didn't stop. Good. Because what they didn't know yet was that the truth was already watching them. The next 3 days felt like walking through fog. Everything moved, but nothing felt real. Tyler became calmer, almost gentle. That scared me more than his anger. Linda called twice a day, always checking on Mia, always asking the same questions. Did she sleep through the night? Any emotional episodes? Did Julie raise her voice again? Like they were collecting boxes to check. Brianna emailed updates. Progress noted. Child responding to structure. Recommending limited maternal contact. Each word felt like a nail. Mia stayed close to me, never more than a few steps away. She didn't cry anymore. She observed, watching, listening, learning. That terrified me, because no child should need to learn how to survive her own home. The night before court, Tyler packed a small bag. Just in case, he said casually. Just in case what? I asked. Judge orders temporary placement, he replied. My chest tightened. Linda arrived with a smile and a casserole. We'll get through this, she said. As a family, I bit my tongue. That night, Mia didn't sleep. She sat up in bed, tablet hidden under her blanket. I pretended to read, pretended not to notice. At exactly 2:13 a.m., footsteps. Slow, deliberate, unafraid. The door creaked. Tyler entered. Again, this time, he didn't whisper. You remember what to say, he told her quietly. Mom yells. Mom scares you. Mom hurts your feelings. Mia nodded slowly, but under the blanket, the red recording light blinked. Linda's voice came through the speaker. Is it done? She asked. Yes, Tyler replied. She's perfect. Brianna laughed softly. Judges love consistency, she said. Children don't lie. Ouch! My heart cracked open. I stayed silent. I let them talk. I let them confess. The next morning, court day arrived. Mia wore a blue dress, hair neatly brushed. Tyler smiled at her. You're doing great, he said. She looked up at him. I know, she replied, but then she turned to me, squeezed my hand, and whispered, Mom, I saved everything. The courtroom doors opened, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt something dangerous stir inside me. Hope, because they thought they were in control. They had no idea that the smallest person in the room was about to take it all away from them. The courtroom smelled like old wood, paper, and nerves. Mia's hand stayed wrapped in mine as we walked to our seats. Small, warm, steady. Tyler sat across from us with his attorney, posture relaxed, jaw set like he already knew the ending. Linda sat right behind him, hands folded, eyes sharp. Brianna took her place near the witness area, clipboard ready, confidence polished. They looked prepared. Too prepared. Judge Angela Monroe entered, robes flowing, expression neutral but alert. All rise, the bailiff announced. We stood. I could feel my heart pounding in my ears. Once everyone was seated, Tyler's attorney stood first. Your Honor, he began. This case involves a deeply concerning home environment. Mr. Carter seeks temporary full custody to ensure the child's emotional safety. My stomach twisted. The attorney spoke smoothly, methodically, laying out their narrative. Claims of instability, emotional outbursts, nighttime distress. Then Brianna was called. She walked to the stand, placed her hand on the Bible, and swore to tell the truth. I watched her closely, every breath, every blink. She spoke about patterns, about markers of trauma, about unsafe maternal attachment. Ouch! Each word felt designed to carve me apart. Judge Monroe listened, pen tapping lightly against her notebook. And in your professional opinion, the judge asked. Brianna nodded solemnly. Mia should not remain in her mother's primary care at this time. I felt Mia squeeze my hand. Hard. Then Linda stood. She dabbed her eyes with a tissue. I love my granddaughter, she said, and it breaks my heart to see her frightened in her own home. She glanced at me briefly, just long enough to sting. Tyler took the stand next. He spoke softly, carefully. I try to help Julie, he said. But she refuses to see the problem. Problem? That's what I was to them now. When it was my turn, my lawyer stood. But before he could speak, Judge Monroe raised a hand. She looked down toward Mia. Mia, she said gently, you've been very quiet. The room stilled. Mia shifted in her seat. She looked at me, then back at the judge. Yes, Your Honor, she whispered. Is there something you want to say today? My breath caught. Mia swallowed, stood up slowly, and spoke clearly. Yes, she said. I want to show you something. Tyler stiffened. Linda's eyes widened. Brianna's pen stopped mid-word. Judge Monroe leaned forward. What is it, sweetheart? Mia reached into her small purse and pulled out a tiny USB drive. It's a video, she said. One my mom doesn't know about. The courtroom froze. And for the first time, I saw fear flash across Tyler's face. The sound of the USB drive clicking onto the courtroom computer felt louder than it should have, like a trigger being pulled. Judge Monroe looked at Mia gently. Are you sure you want to do this? She asked. Mia nodded, once, firm. Yes, Your Honor. I felt dizzy. A part of me wanted to stand up, to stop everything, to protect my child from being in the middle of adult cruelty. But another part of me, the part that had watched my daughter shrink in her own home, knew this moment didn't belong to me anymore. Tyler shifted in his chair. Your Honor, his lawyer said quickly. We object. This child has been under extreme emotional stress. Judge Monroe raised her hand. She asked to show it. The judge said calmly. I'm allowing it. Linda leaned forward. This is inappropriate, she hissed. Julie put her up to this. My heart pounded. I hadn't even seen the video. The screen flickered to life. Darkness at first. Grainy. Then a child's bedroom slowly came into focus. Mia's bed. My breath caught. The timestamp appeared in the corner. 2:13 a.m. A shadow crossed the doorway. Someone entered the room. The courtroom leaned in. The figure stepped closer to the bed, blocking the camera for a second, then moving just enough for his face to appear. Tyler. Gasps rippled through the room. I felt my stomach drop to my feet. On the screen, he knelt beside the bed, whispering, Don't move, his voice said clearly. This has to look real. Ouch! My hands began to shake. Mia's small voice followed. I don't like it. You're helping, Tyler replied calmly. The judge needs to see this. A red mark appeared on Mia's arm. The courtroom went completely silent. Judge Monroe's pen slipped from her fingers. The video continued. Tyler adjusted the blanket, took photos, checked his phone. Then another voice entered the room. Linda, you didn't make it dark enough, she said. It has to look worse. Someone in the gallery whispered, Oh my God. My vision blurred. Then Brianna's voice joined them, laughing softly. Remember, she said, consistency matters. Tomorrow I'll say the marks appeared overnight. The video cut abruptly. The screen went black. No one spoke. Not the judge. Not the lawyers. Not Tyler. Mia stood still at her seat. Judge Monroe finally found her voice. Is there more? She asked quietly. Mia nodded and reached back into her purse. Yes, she said. There's another one. Tyler's face drained of color, and I realized they weren't just exposed. They were finished. The courtroom didn't breathe. It just stared. Judge Monroe's eyes stayed locked on the black screen, like she was waiting for it to argue back. Proceed, she said finally. Mia's fingers trembled as she inserted the second file. The screen flickered again. Different angle this time. The living room. Late evening. Tyler sat on the couch, Linda beside him, Brianna standing near the doorway with her clipboard. They looked relaxed, comfortable. Planning. Tyler laughed softly. She's breaking down faster than I expected, he said. By the time the hearing starts, she won't even look stable. Linda nodded. Good, she replied. I raised you better than to lose control of a situation. Brianna flipped a page. I'll testify that the anxiety spikes when Julie is present, she said calmly. That gives us the leverage we need. Ouch! A sharp murmur ran through the courtroom. Tyler leaned back. And custody, he asked. Linda smiled. Once we have Mia, the house is yours, she said. And Julie will disappear on her own. The video paused. A woman in the gallery gasped. Judge Monroe's face hardened. Continue, she said. The video resumed. Brianna's voice lowered. The bruises have to be fresh, she said. And they must appear overnight. Judges trust what children show up with in the morning. Tyler nodded. I'll handle that. My legs went weak. Mia's small shoulders squared. I didn't move, she said quietly, not looking at anyone. Judge Monroe stood. The gavel came down once. Hard. That's enough. The courtroom jumped. Tyler opened his mouth. Your Honor. Sit. Down. Her voice cut through him like steel. She turned to Brianna. Are you licensed in the state? Brianna swallowed. Yes. Judge Monroe turned to the bailiff. Please escort Miss Holt to the side. I have questions. Brianna's face went pale. Linda leaned toward Tyler. Say nothing, she whispered. The judge wasn't finished. She looked directly at Tyler. You staged evidence, she said evenly. You manipulated your child. And you attempted to deceive this court. Tyler shook his head. No, Julie is unstable. Enough, the judge snapped. She turned to me. Mrs. Carter, she said gently, I am so sorry. I couldn't speak. Tears streamed down my face as Mia reached for my hand. Then Judge Monroe said the words that made the room gasp. This court is ordering an immediate investigation. Temporary custody is granted to the mother. And this hearing is far from over. Tyler slumped back. Linda's lips trembled. Mia squeezed my hand tighter. But the judge leaned forward again. Because, she said, I believe there is more you haven't shown us yet. Mia nodded. Yes, Your Honor. And pulled out one last file. The air shifted the moment Mia pulled out the last file. Not curiosity. Not shock. Fear. Judge Monroe didn't sit back down. She stayed standing. Hands braced on the bench. Eyes fixed on my daughter. Go ahead, she said quietly. Mia hesitated, just for a second. Then she pressed play. The screen lit up with a shaky image. The camera clearly hidden, angled low. It was Mia's bedroom again. Different night. Different timestamp. 1:47 a.m. The door opened slowly, carefully, like whoever entered didn't want to be heard. But the camera heard everything. Tyler stepped inside, followed closely by Linda. Linda whispered first. She's asleep? Tyler nodded. Out cold. My stomach twisted. Linda moved closer to the bed. Make sure the mark is higher this time, she said. The judge needs to see it when she lifts her arm. Ouch! A sharp intake of breath rippled through the courtroom. Tyler hesitated. Is this really necessary? Linda's voice hardened. If you want full custody. Yes. She adjusted the blanket. Brianna said consistency is what wins. The camera caught Mia's small face. Eyes closed, lashes trembling. Then Linda said something that made my blood run cold. Once Julie loses custody, she won't be around much longer anyway. A woman in the gallery whispered, Oh my God. Judge Monroe's jaw clenched. The video continued. Tyler sighed. She's already breaking down, he said. Julie cries all the time. Linda scoffed. Good. Weak women don't survive court. The file ended. No music. No dramatic cut. Just silence. The kind that crushes your chest. Judge Monroe slowly turned toward Linda. Did you just imply that the child's mother should be removed from her life permanently? Linda opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Tyler stood up suddenly. This is taken out of context. The gavel slammed down. Sit down. The bailiff stepped closer. Judge Monroe's voice was steady now, dangerously calm. I have seen enough to believe this child has been psychologically terrorized, and enough to believe this was coordinated. She looked at Brianna, still standing off to the side. Ms. Holt, did you advise these actions? Brianna's hands shook. I was following procedure. Procedure does not involve criminal coaching, the judge said. Mia squeezed my hand. Your Honor, she whispered. There's something else. The judge softened instantly. Yes, sweetheart. Mia looked straight at Tyler. He told me if I talked, Mom would go away forever. Gasps echoed. Judge Monroe stood taller. That will be all, she said sharply. And then she said the words that made my knees buckle. This court is referring this case to Child Protective Services and the district attorney. Tyler went pale. Linda grabbed his arm. Brianna began to cry. But Mia leaned into me. Safe, brave, unbreakable, and the nightmare that nearly destroyed us was finally collapsing in front of everyone. The judge didn't rush her next words. She let the silence sit, let it sink into every corner of the room. Tyler stared straight ahead, jaw tight, hands clenched so hard his knuckles turned white. Linda's confident posture finally cracked. Her shoulders sagged, her lips trembled, her eyes darted around the courtroom like she was looking for an exit. Brianna broke first. I was manipulated, she sobbed. They told me the mother was unstable. Judge Monroe's gaze snapped to her. You are a licensed professional, she said sharply. You don't get to hide behind tears. The bailiff stepped closer. Brianna's sobs grew louder. I didn't know it would go this far, she whispered. My heart pounded. This was what accountability looked like. Judge Monroe turned to Tyler. Mr. Carter, she said slowly, do you have anything to say before this court takes action?
He stood.
For a moment, he looked like the man I once married. Then his face twisted. This is a setup, he said loudly. She coached the child. She poisoned her mind. Ouch. Hearing him still try to blame Mia nearly broke me. Judge Monroe didn't flinch. Your daughter recorded you, she said. In your own home, on multiple nights. Tyler slammed his hands on the table. She's a child. Children lie. The courtroom erupted. Judge Monroe struck the gavel hard. That's enough. Her voice echoed. You will not insult this court by denying video evidence. She turned to the bailiff. Please escort Mr. Carter back to his seat. Tyler resisted. Just slightly. Enough for everyone to notice. Linda stood abruptly. You can't do this, she cried. You're destroying our family. Judge Monroe fixed her with a cold stare. You destroyed it yourself, she said. Then she looked at me. Mrs. Carter, her voice softened. I want you to know this court sees what happened here. My throat closed. I'm ordering immediate protective measures, she continued. Supervised visitation only, pending criminal investigation. Relief flooded my chest so fast it hurt. Mia clutched my arm. Mom, she whispered, does this mean I can come home with you? Tears spilled down my face. Yes, I whispered. Yes, baby. Judge Monroe nodded. Child Protective Services will meet with you today, she said. And the district attorney will review this evidence immediately. Linda sank back into her chair. Her hands shook uncontrollably. Brianna buried her face in her hands. The judge stood. This court is adjourned. The gavel came down one last time. As people began to stand, as whispers filled the room, Mia looked up at me. Mom, she said softly. I wasn't scared anymore. I hugged her tightly. Neither was I, because the truth had spoken. And nothing scares a liar more than that. The courtroom emptied slowly, not with noise, not with chatter, with stunned silence. People avoided eye contact as they passed us, like they just witnessed something sacred and didn't want to disturb it. Tyler was the last to leave his table. He didn't look at me, didn't look at Mia. He stared straight ahead, as if refusing to acknowledge the moment his control shattered. Linda followed close behind him, Her confidence was gone. She walked like someone who suddenly realized the ground beneath her wasn't solid anymore. Brianna was escorted out by a court officer. She kept repeating the same sentence. Over and over. I was misled. I was misled. That excuse sounded very small now. In the hallway, a woman approached me quietly. She introduced herself as a CPS caseworker. I'll be with you today, she said gently, just to make sure you and Mia are safe. Safe. That word still felt unreal. We sat in a small side room, white walls, plastic chairs, a box of tissues on the table. Mia climbed into my lap without asking. The caseworker asked simple questions. Where do you feel safest? Who do you trust? Is there anything else we should know? Mia answered clearly, calmly, like a child who had finally been heard. Then she said something that made the caseworker pause. He used to stand in the doorway, Mia said, and watch me sleep. Ouch! My chest tightened painfully. The caseworker's expression changed. That's important, she said softly. She stepped out of the room. When she returned, 2 police officers were with her. They asked to speak with Tyler, then Linda. Separately. Tyler's voice rose in the hallway. I didn't hurt her. I was trying to protect her. Linda cried loudly. Too loudly. The officers didn't raise their voices. They didn't need to, because evidence doesn't argue. Mia buried her face in my shoulder. I don't have to see him anymore, right? She whispered. For now. No, I said gently. She exhaled. A long, shaky breath. That evening, we went home, but the house felt different, like it no longer belonged to the past, like it was ours again. I packed Mia's things, just the essentials, clothes, stuffed animals, her tablet. She stopped me at the door. Mom, she said, they don't know everything. My heart skipped. What do you mean? She looked serious. There's one more video, she whispered. One I didn't show the judge. Ouch! My breath caught. Why not? Because it wasn't about court, she said. It was about something else. I knelt in front of her. What did you record, sweetheart? She hesitated, then said the words that sent a chill through me. I recorded what Dad and Grandma planned to do after they won. My hands went cold when Mia said that. After they won? She nodded slowly, eyes steady. Too steady for a 7-year-old. They talked in the kitchen, she said. They didn't know my tablet was under the chair. Ouch! My chest tightened. What did they say? I asked gently. Mia swallowed. Dad said once the judge believed them, you'd be gone for good. The words hit me like a slap. Gone. How? I whispered. She looked down at her socks, twisting the fabric between her fingers. Grandma said, she paused, that you'd be too sad to fight back anymore. Linda's voice echoed in my memory. Calm, confident, cruel? Mia continued. She said they'd tell everyone you were unstable, and that no one would believe you. I felt sick, and Dad laughed, Mia added quietly. He said that once I lived with him, I wouldn't need you anymore. Ouch! That one shattered something inside me. I pulled her into my arms. You never stop needing your mom, I whispered. And I will never stop choosing you. She nodded against my shoulder. That night, we didn't sleep. I replayed everything in my head. Every look, every word, every moment. I ignored my instincts. Around midnight, there was a knock at the door. Sharp. Official. 2 officers stood outside. Mrs. Carter, one said, we need to ask you a few follow-up questions. They explained that Tyler had admitted something. Not everything, but enough. He confirmed discussions about permanent separation, the officer said carefully, and plans to restrict your contact with Mia long-term. Did he explain how? I asked. The officer hesitated. He claimed it was legal distance. Legal distance. Linda's language. After they left, I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where they planned my erasure. Mia climbed into the chair beside me. Do you want to see it now? She asked. My heart pounded. Yes, I said. She handed me the tablet. The video began. Linda's voice came first. Once the court signs off, she said, Julie won't have the strength to fight us again. Tyler laughed. She won't even recognize herself, he replied. She'll just fade. Mia's small face appeared briefly in the reflection of the screen. Watching. Recording. Protecting. The video ended. Silence swallowed the room. I closed my eyes. Not in fear. In resolve. Because they didn't just try to take my child. They tried to erase me. And they almost succeeded. Almost. I looked at Mia. You did something very brave, I said. She nodded. I didn't want you to disappear. I pulled her close. I'm still here, I whispered. And now, they're the ones who should be afraid. Because this wasn't over. Not yet. And the consequences they thought they avoided were just beginning to catch up. The next morning arrived without mercy. No pause. No relief. Just consequences lining up at the door. My phone rang at 7:12 a.m. A number I didn't recognize. This is Detective Harris, a man said calmly. We're following up on the evidence submitted yesterday. My stomach tightened. Following up how? I asked. We have enough to open a criminal investigation, he replied. Not just for emotional abuse, but for coercion, witness tampering, and child endangerment. Ouch! I had to sit down. He explained that Tyler's statements conflicted with the recordings. That Linda's involvement escalated the case. That Brianna's licensing board had already been notified. She cooperated, he added. Very quickly. Of course she did. After the call, I made breakfast. Normal things felt strange. Like pretending life hadn't cracked open. Mia ate quietly, watching me carefully. Are we in trouble? She asked. I knelt in front of her. No, I said firmly. You told the truth. Truth doesn't get you in trouble. She nodded, but her shoulders relaxed for the first time in days. That afternoon, my lawyer called. The judge signed emergency protective orders, he said. Tyler isn't allowed contact with Mia until further notice. I closed my eyes. Relief washed through me so fast it almost hurt. And Linda? I asked. She violated court boundaries, he replied. That will matter. Later that evening, there was movement outside. A familiar car. Linda's. She didn't get out. She just sat there. Engine running. Watching the house. Old habits die hard. I called the non-emergency line. By the time officers arrived, the car was gone. But the message was clear. She wasn't done. That night, Mia slept peacefully for the first time in weeks. No light under her door. No footsteps. No whispers. Just sleep. I sat at the edge of her bed, listening to her breathe, letting myself feel the weight of everything. Fear, anger, grief, and something new, strength, because I wasn't surviving anymore. I was standing, and somewhere across town, Tyler was realizing control had slipped from his hands. Linda was realizing manipulation left fingerprints. And Brianna was learning that pretending to be an expert doesn't protect you from the truth. This wasn't over. But it was no longer happening to me. It was happening because of me. And for the first time since this began, I wasn't afraid of what came next. I was ready. The investigation moved faster than I expected. Faster than Tyler ever imagined. By mid-morning, 2 detectives sat at my kitchen table. Notebooks open. Voices calm. Questions precise. They asked about timelines. About routines. About who had access to Mia's room. And when. I answered everything. Because fear had finally loosened its grip. Mia listened from the doorway, holding her stuffed rabbit. Quiet. Brave. One detective knelt to her level. You did the right thing, he said gently. She nodded, but didn't smile. That afternoon, Brianna's license was officially suspended. The notification came through my lawyer, effective immediately. Ouch! That single sentence felt heavier than any apology. Then came the call I wasn't prepared for. Tyler. The number flashed on my phone. I didn't answer. It rang again and again. Then a voicemail. His voice sounded smaller, strained, nothing like the man who once controlled every room he entered. "Julie," he said, "this has gone too far. We can fix this. Just tell them it was a misunderstanding." I deleted it. Minutes later, another voicemail. "Mom's freaking out," he added. "They're asking questions about money, about why Brianna was paid." Paid. My stomach tightened. I forwarded the messages to my lawyer. That night, Linda's house was searched. Not quietly, not privately. 2 patrol cars, lights flashing, neighbors watching. They carried boxes out, files, laptops, hard drives, everything she thought she controlled. Mia watched from the window. "Is it over?" she asked softly. "Not yet," I said. "But it's close." The next morning, Judge Monroe issued another order. No contact. No indirect messages. No third parties. Tyler violated it within hours. A message came through my email from an account I didn't recognize. "You're destroying your daughter's future." I didn't reply. I forwarded it. That evening, the detectives returned. "This changes things," one said. "Repeated violations strengthen the case." I nodded, because I finally understood something important. Silence had protected them. Truth was protecting us. Before they left, one detective paused. "Mrs. Carter," he said, "there's something else." My heart skipped. "We found additional recordings on Linda's computer," he continued. "Planning documents, draft statements, and a timeline that starts months before the first mark appeared." Months. This wasn't panic. This was premeditated. He met my eyes. "We believe this goes beyond custody manipulation." I swallowed. "What does that mean?" "It means," he said carefully, "charges are likely." That night, I tucked Mia into bed. She looked peaceful. Finally. "Mom," she whispered, "if I hadn't recorded it, would you still be here?" I kissed her forehead. "Yes," I said softly, "because I would have found another way." She smiled faintly, but inside, I knew the truth. She saved us, and the people who tried to erase me were about to face the full weight of what they'd done. The arrest came quietly. No sirens, no shouting, just 2 officers at Tyler's door before sunrise. I didn't see it happen, but I heard about it an hour later from my lawyer. "They took him in for questioning," he said. "Based on the volume of evidence, they're not letting him walk." My hands trembled as I set the phone down. Mia was coloring at the table, drawing a house, a sun in the corner, 2 stick figures holding hands. "Is Daddy in trouble?" she asked without looking up. "Yes," I said honestly, "but not because of you." She nodded. "I know." Later that morning, Linda was arrested. This time, neighbors filmed, phones out, whispers spreading. The woman who once ruled every room with a smile and a comment now stood in handcuffs. Brianna followed by noon. Her face appeared briefly on the local news. Eyes red. No clipboard in sight. The story spread fast. Child abuse investigation. Fabricated evidence. Courtroom deception. People I hadn't heard from in years began reaching out. I had no idea. She always seemed so put together. "I'm so sorry." Evil never looks evil at first. That afternoon, we were called back to court. Not for custody. For protection. Judge Monroe listened to the updates, reviewed the charges, then looked directly at me. "You did what many adults are too afraid to do," she said. "You believed your child." Her words hit deeper than she probably realized. She signed the final orders. Full custody. Permanent protective measures. No unsupervised contact. Ever. Mia squeezed my hand. "Thank you," she whispered. The judge smiled softly. "Thank you." Outside the courthouse, the air felt lighter, like something poisonous had finally left my lungs. But that night, I couldn't sleep. Not from fear. from the weight of everything that had happened. The what-ifs, the close calls, the moments I almost ignored my instincts. I sat at the edge of my bed, staring at the dark hallway. And that's when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A single text. "You ruined everything." I stared at the screen. Not angry, not scared, just aware. I forwarded it to the detective. Then I blocked the number, because this part was no longer mine to carry. The next morning, I packed away the cameras, the backups, the evidence. Mia watched me. "Are we safe now?" she asked. I smiled. "Yes," I said, "and we're free." But as I closed the last box, I realized something else. Justice doesn't always end with relief. Sometimes it ends with rebuilding, and that part was just beginning. The house felt different once the noise stopped. No phones buzzing, no doors slamming, no footsteps pacing the hallway at night. Just quiet. The kind that lets you hear yourself think again. Mia noticed it first. "Mom," she said one morning, "the house doesn't feel scared anymore." Ouch! That sentence broke something open inside me. I nodded slowly. "Neither do I." We started small. New routines, new rules, new normal. Breakfast at the table without rushing. Homework without tension. Lights off at night without fear. But healing isn't instant. Some nights, Mia still woke up gasping, looking toward the door. I would sit beside her, hold her hand, and remind her, "No one is coming in. I promise." She believed me, but trust takes time to grow back. A week later, the district attorney called. They were filing formal charges against Tyler, against Linda, against Brianna. Child endangerment, coercion, conspiracy. Each word felt heavy, final, necessary. The media tried to reach me. I declined. This story wasn't for them. It was for us. One afternoon, Mia asked a question I wasn't ready for. "Why did Dad do that?" she asked quietly. I took a deep breath. "Because he wanted control," I said. "And sometimes people choose control over love." She thought about that. "Love doesn't hurt you like that," she said. "No," I replied softly. "It doesn't." We donated the old tablet, changed the locks, repainted Mia's room. Soft colors, bright light. A room that belonged to her again. That evening, as I tucked her in, she hugged me tight. "I was scared you'd disappear," she whispered. "I'm not going anywhere," I said. "Ever." She smiled, finally drifting into real sleep. Later, alone in the living room, I opened my laptop. I wrote everything down. Not for court. Not for evidence. For closure. Because surviving something doesn't mean it didn't leave scars. It means you learned how to live with them. I closed the laptop, looked around the room, and felt something new settle in. Peace. But there was still one step left. One final moment I needed to fully let go. And I knew exactly where it would happen. The final step came sooner than I expected. A letter arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning. Plain envelope. Official seal. Mia watched as I opened it. "What is it?" she asked. I read the first line, then the second, then had to sit down. "It's the sentencing hearing," I said softly. "For your dad. And Grandma. And Brianna." Mia nodded, not scared, just thoughtful. "Do we have to go?" she asked. "No," I said quickly. "You don't." She thought about that, then shook her head. "I don't want to see them," she said. I already said everything I needed to say. I felt proud in a way I couldn't put into words. The day of the hearing, I went alone. The courthouse felt smaller this time, less threatening. Like the walls no longer leaned in on me. Tyler sat at the defense table. Shoulders hunched, eyes hollow. Linda looked older, frilier. Her confidence stripped away. Brianna avoided eye contact entirely. The prosecutor spoke clearly, methodically, laying out the harm, the planning, the manipulation. No dramatics. Just facts. When the judge asked if I wanted to speak, my legs shook as I stood. I won't talk about anger, I said calmly. And I won't talk about revenge. I looked straight at Tyler. I'll talk about safety, I continued. About believing children. About how silence almost destroyed us. Linda stared at the floor. My daughter sleeps now, I said. She laughs. She feels safe in her own room. My voice wavered. But I didn't stop. That matters. I sat down. The judge spoke next. Firm. Unyielding. Sentences were handed down. Conditions imposed. Restrictions made permanent. When the gavel fell, it didn't echo. It settled. Outside. The air felt clean. I sat in my car for a moment, hands on the steering wheel, breathing. Then my phone buzzed. A message from the detective. It's over. I drove home slowly, windows down, sunlight filling the car. Mia was waiting at the door. Did it happen? She asked. Yes, I said. She nodded, then wrapped her arms around me. That night, we ordered takeout, watched a silly movie, laughed at the wrong parts. Normal, beautiful, ours. As I tucked her in, she whispered, I'm glad I told. So am I replied. I turned off the light, stood in the doorway, and realized something important. This story didn't end in court. It ended right here, in a quiet house, with a child who felt safe enough to sleep. And in the morning, we would start again. The first morning after everything ended, I woke up before Mia, not from fear, not from habit, but from quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't feel empty. The kind that feels earned. Sunlight spilled across the kitchen floor. Soft, gentle, real. I made coffee, stood by the window, and let myself breathe without counting the seconds. When Mia came in, hair messy, eyes sleepy, she smiled. A real smile.
Morning, Mom, she said.
Ouch. That simple sound meant more than any court ruling ever could. We ate breakfast slowly. No rushing. No tension. No whispered plans. Just us. Later that day, we went to the park. Nothing special. Just swings. A patch of grass. A bench in the shade. Mia ran ahead, laughing. Free. I watched her and felt something settle inside me. Closure. Not because they were punished, but because we were safe. That night, as I tucked her into bed,
she reached for my hand.
Mom, she whispered, are you proud of me? My throat tightened. So proud, I said. You were brave when you shouldn't have had to be. She nodded, then said something I'll carry forever. I knew you'd believe me. That was it. That was everything. After she fell asleep, I stood in the doorway for a moment, watching her breathe, memorizing peace. I thought about the woman I used to be. Quiet, careful, afraid of rocking the boat. And the woman I am now. A mother who listens. A woman who stands. A person who doesn't ignore her instincts anymore. I didn't win because I was clever, or loud, or powerful. I won because I chose my child. And because my child trusted me enough to tell the truth. The house no longer holds secrets. The night no longer scares us. And the future, for the first time in a long time, feels wide open. Before you go, tell me in the comments, which moment of this story shocked you the most? And if this story moved you, if it reminded you to trust your instincts, to listen to your children, subscribe to the channel, so you never miss another story of strength, because it's never too late to protect what matters most.